Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Mood Lady, and this is where we talk about all things anxiety and depression, where we learn to support each other and learn about this life experience. So join me, hit follow, do the things, and join my community. But I think because I think that it's going to be a really good experience for everybody to just share and glow up, is the way I like to call it. And so I think we're going to just jump right into it because there's so much to say. And I think today it's going to be a two-parter because there's so much to talk about. And today's subject is my story. So this is my journey with anxiety and depression, and I'll just jump right in. I guess you could say that my early childhood was bumpy, if I want to kind of generalize it in that sense. I mean, we left Guatemala when I was 3, 4, and to jump in, to leave, and then to start a new language, a new culture, a new country, a new everything for a child who was probably already predisposed to be anxious. That probably wasn't the ideal scenario, but people deal with. I'm not trying to minimize my experience, but this is something that people around the world experience all the time. And so I would say that I grew up in an environment that was probably very anxious, simply because most of my family members suffer from anxiety, and some of them from depression as well. So there is a whole genetic component there, which we will cover in another video. I would like to talk about my dad, for instance, and my mom. Subject for another time, but yeah, just very fearful. My dad was sick, so he had anxiety and probably depression as well. And my mom has ADHD, and excuse me, the way that I describe her is like she's kind of a whirling dervish. She's always moving, she's always going, she's always, and that's not a bad thing. That kind of works for her, and that's fantastic. And then extended family members who were also extremely anxious. My grandmother being one of those people who I spent a lot of time with in my early childhood. So there is, a genetic predisposition, but also environmental factors, which probably didn't help. And I spent time away from my dad when he came to Canada first because he was Canadian. So there was a bit of time separated from my dad, so that probably didn't help. And um, yeah, I remember feeling anxious and scared from a very, very early age. Especially my brother, was into space, and he was into, space exploration and all that stuff. And he would tell me about space. And I remember just feeling super, super, super anxious about it because, just this concept of the universe being like, there's no end to the universe. Like it just keeps going on and on. And in my mind, and I still get kind of, it freaks me out to this day. It's like, what exists beyond the universe? Like, well, what is beyond, beyond, beyond? And it's just like, it's too big and it's too much for me to even fathom. So anyway, I know that sounds a little funny, but yeah, that caused me a lot of anxiety. And just obviously aliens, this the idea of aliens just coming in and abducting us in the in our sleep and all kinds of stuff. So my brother would tell me all these stories, and I remember that really, really scared me. And then my grandmother was very religious and superstitious, and she would tell me things like, if you eat too much salt, you're going to turn into a donkey, or like if you're a bad girl, the devil's going to come and get you. And like to this day, I have a phobia of anything to do with exorcism and stuff like that. It's so silly. Like I cannot watch horror movies. Um, even so, like knowing full well that I can rationally understand that it's just a movie and it's not like, I guess it still kind of trigger the triggers triggers those primary uh, fears and stuff like that. Although I will say I'm much better able to deal with it now. But there was one incident where there was a kid who, I guess it was an Amber Alert in those days, and a kid got taken. And so my family, as you know, thought it was funny to tell me that, oh, that the bad guys are going to come for you. And I remember feeling so afraid that I would went and I hid in underneath the bed, and they all thought it was hysterical. So on top of feeling really really scared, I also felt humiliated. And anyway, um, you know, if I wasn't already an anxious child, I think it would have been fine. But it, you know, it didn't help that I was already predisposed to to these things, and my family, I guess, didn't really realize it was the 80s. Let's just throw a whole blanket onto the whole decade for all the sins. Um, anyway, so as I got older, the anxiety just kind of got much, much worse, and I'd have bouts of depression where I would just feel down, not terribly down like later in my life, but yeah, all these things, you know, from early childhood, all these experiences, and you know, perhaps some unhealthy family dynamics didn't help at all. And so I remember I had a job in the summer, and I would just, you know, work during the week and be functional, and then on the weekends I would just rent movies and just watch movies the whole weekend, or I would have to be doing something that I completely loved, like salsa dancing. So I'd have to like um, either distract myself just watching movies all day long, or you know, going out and doing something super fun, so I didn't have to kind of think about, you know, what was going on inside. And then at a certain point, my parents did get worried, and they sent me to a therapist. And I was also, you know, the fear of God regarding medication was put into me, which I don't understand why, because it's one of the tools in the toolbox to use if you're having issues, and if they're insurmountable and they're kind of taking over your life, sort of thing. So yeah, and then, you know, because I had a I would say, what's the word, kind of not a very good relationship with my dad. I had therefore had not great relationships with boys. There was one particular one that I was infatuated with, and kind of went through a little stalker phase when I was 18 or something like that. And now I think about it, and I'm totally mortified, right? Like as an adult, and just looking back at it, going, oh my God, the poor dude. That situation is a lot more complex than I'd care to share right now. That's maybe for another video. I'd love to share, but I think my friends that are listening know exactly who I'm talking about. But um, yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there. This is the end of part one, but you must listen to part two, because part two is where it really gets intense, and where I really, really go into like deep, deep um, depressions, and something really scary happens, and that kind of triggers a whole bunch of other things. So follow me, click follow, click like, do the things, and join my community. And you'll see that there are so many people on the channel and in life who have the same issues as I do. Perhaps you do as well. Join us, because I think that the whole reason I created it was so that we could talk about the subject more openly, because I still feel like, even though we're in 2024, a lot of these things still not are talked about, and there might be a stigma with, or even just if you're isolated, or if you don't have anybody in your circle that can talk to you about these things, you can talk about it here. And of course, that there's no judgment. And if anybody does judge, well, I have a thing about bullies, so I don't tolerate them well, and I'll put a stop to that right quick. So um, yeah, that's the end of part one. This is the mood lady. I am super happy to be here, super happy to share my experiences with you. It's a bit scary, obviously, making myself a bit vulnerable, but here we are. This is life. If we don't talk about our issues, then they get stuck. So see you in part two. This is the mood lady signing out. Bye.